Hello, everyone. So, today I'm going to roll the dice on something which is not that emotional, but is more effective in nature and has more value to it. And our topic for today is enhance your productivity and efficiency by using time management. Now, today, what I'm going to cover for you is not just time management, it's essentially and typically a life management program. So, if I talk about this, for a moment, let's talk about decision making. So, do you all agree that decision making is the ultimate power? Yes, no, maybe? Exactly. So, well, to some extent, I would say that decision making is very essential and it does play a vital role in our day to day lives. How many of you think that if you would have taken a different decision, you would have not landed up here? Probably you would have been working in some other organization. Probably you would have not got married to the same person. Probably you would have not bought that car. Would have done something different. Or probably you're happy that you landed up here because you made the right decision. So, and and help me understand. Do you ever know what is the right decision or what is the wrong decision? How many of you know it? Yeah, I mean, no one knows it what's right and what's wrong unless you take a decision, you move forward with it, and then you see the result. And if you like the result, you'll be like, yeah, that was the right decision. Well, decision making is so powerful that it requires courage. Leadership, there's a reason why leaders take the decision. That is the reason why leadership is supposed to be more strategic and have more, and is supposed to have more, important role in decision making because it requires courage. So what happens when you make a decision? Either it's right or wrong. You move forward with what your gut feeling says, or whatever you think your analysis says, and then you move forward with it. Now, once you move forward with it, it may or may not look right, and after a month or so, you realize, oh, that was a wrong decision. Then what do? You take another decision. But some people don't even make a decision, and that is the decision. Well, jokes apart. So today, what I'm going to talk to you about is not just decision making, but an effective tool that would help you and move forward in your life in terms of time management and how you look at things. So for this training session, what I would want you to do is I would want you to forget about what you already know and forget that you're working here, forget how you'll apply. Just I know it's tough, but you just gotta you know keep the focus here and not think about anything. I know that your phones will be buzzing, there'll be emails coming. There's so much work that's there on the floor right now. But what I really want you to do is I just want you to switch off your phones and just focus and forget about that you're in an office or you are at home, whatever. But then just focus here. So what that would do is that would help you learn this new method. And for this method, what you really need to do is you need to just focus. Right, and not just focus because it's a new way of looking at things. It's a different perspective. It's a change in the entire thought process, and that's why I would want you to move focus more here. So let's move to the next slide, which talks about rapid planning method. This is what we're going to talk about today. Now, usually what you usually do when you think about a to-do list, or when you're like, oh, I'll go to office today, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So what is the first question that you ask? Most of the people usually ask, what am I going to do? Is that right, wrong? Like when you look at your to-do list, or when you enter office, you open your laptop, what is the first thing that you think? You check your emails, and you're like, what am I going to do? Right, wrong? Exactly. So what happens is, for me, that's the most stupid question to ask. I'll tell you why. Because trying to understand, you can do whatever you want to do, but you stick and you say, what should I do? Now there's a difference. What I want to do and what should I do? So you move from what is absolutely must for me or must for you to something that you should be doing. Now, what happens is that usually when people come to this question, what should I do? They usually land up on this question on basis of what's the pressing matter at hand, or probably what is more emotional for them. But very rarely someone would come to this point when they actually understand in their lives what is it that they're really after, what is the outcome that they're after. So, and I get it. It happens with all of us. It happens with the best of us that we, look at things. There are things going on. Like you'll have something going on the floor. You'll have some meeting. G's calling. Like something or the other thing is always happening, right? So you get engaged in those activities. So what happens is that where you put your focus, you put your time there. Right now, you're focusing on this board, you're focusing in this training session, means you're spending your time here, right? So today, what we're going to learn is just how to manage that time. But for us to be able to manage the time, what we need to do is we need to manage the focus first. So every day, your text is buzzing, your cell phone is buzzing, you're getting text messages, emails, people coming to you on your workstation asking, "So this happened, that happened, I need your help. This guy sent me this email, that happened," and something or the other always happens. And that is sucking up your emotional juice. That is sucking up your time, your energy, your brain, your intellect. It's it's taking everything it's taking everything that you really have. Now, what do you guys think? What is the most valuable resource in your life? Is it money? How many of you say it's money? Well, good to some extent, but that's not the most valuable resource, because what happens is that you just have to remember two dates in your life. One out of the only two dates that are important in your life, and out of those, one you would never know. So the first date is your date of birth, and the second is the day you die. So between two dates, what is it that you have? There's only one thing that you always have, and that's constant, and that's time. So since you have time between these two dates, then time is your most valuable asset. There's nothing more valuable than this asset of yours. Now, what you do with that time shapes your future. Now, how it shapes your future is because in that during that time, what decisions you make would shape up your life. And for you to be able to make those decisions, you need to focus on few things. So where focus goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, your time flows. And where your time flows, it creates your future. So just trying to understand when your phone is buzzing and everything is happening at the same time, what usually happens is that you spend your half of your day in it, right? So that is something that we need to control. So let's move on to focus. So most people focus on activities. They do not focus on the outcomes. So if you can take control of your focus, your outcomes get better. Now, how should I take care of my outcomes? So let me give you an example. For example, you know, there's so many people who are asking you questions, walking to your desk, and then there was something that you really wanted to do for your team. You probably want your team to, you want to scale up your team, you want to upscale their skills, but you can't because you're so swarmed with those daily activities. Most people get confused with movement as achievement, but that's not your achievement. Your achievement is the results that you're after. So for that, you need to put your focus on your results. Steve Jobs said, focus is about saying no. I know it kind of sounds weird right now, but then focus is all about saying no. It's about saying no to all those things, you know, which doesn't actually have value in it. For example, I'm not saying that, helping your team members is is of no value, but what I'm trying to make a point here is, say for example, if I tell a team member of mine, go and follow up with this client. And what he does is he comes back to me and he'll be like, I sent 4 emails and I left 2 voicemails and the person is not answering. I'll be like, really? It just annoys me because that wasn't the outcome that I was after. What was the outcome that I was after? That did you check? Well, you should tell me that you could not. Then, I mean, there could be different strategies to it. We could figure out a different way to do it. But then that was not the result. How many follow? Yeah. So focus is all about saying no. Now, that's one part of it. The second part is emotional juice. is the purpose. Now, I call it as emotional juice. In a moment, I'll unwind and I'll tell you why I call it the emotional juice. See, we all have willpower, but willpower is like your iPhone's battery. It'll drain out pretty quick. It just drains out because that's how it's built. It's just a battery. Versus your breathe, your breath. When you breathe, you don't stop breathing, right? And that's what your emotional juice is. So what usually happens is, now let me explain this with an example. Say for example, I take a oil pin. You all know what an oil pin is, right? So if I take a oil pin and I throw it to you, what's going to happen? You will not even probably feel it. But if I take emotional juice and build it around it, and I stuck it up behind the spin and make a giant iron hammer out of it and throw it towards you, it'll cut through your heart. Now that's the power of an emotional juice. That is the purpose. So first of all, when we are defining something, the first question that we should ask when you're focusing on something should be, what is it that I want? What is the result that I'm after? Well, for example, if I'm trying to call my brother, I want him to feel loved, that his brother loves him. So that is why I'll call him. So probably when I'm calling my fiance, what I would really want to tell her is that how much I love her. So that's how, because I have a defined outcome. What do I really want? And then when you talk about what do you really want, as this should be the first question. Now, when that happens to be your first question, you also got to be more precise with it. For example, if I say that I would want to lose weight, yeah, I'll lose half a kg because I was not defined with it. I never had that defined. So that's a major challenge that we people face. And the second challenge is that, let me give you another example to explain this better. The second example is that when I would tell you to, kind of, the second example is that when I would tell you to focus, when I would tell you to, let's say some of you, there was this guy who wanted to earn some, like what is it that you really want? And the guy was like, I want to earn more money. Yeah, take $10, get out of here. You know what I mean? So you really got to focus on what is it that you want, what is the exact and the precise thing that you want, and how much do you want, by when do you want. Once you ask those questions from you, that's how you will define it. So let me give you an example. There was this guy from my previous organization. He was a director of mine, and this guy was really smart, but then he was about to lose his job, and they blamed him. Office politics happens and happens in all major corporates at times, which is a bad thing. But then, keeping that aside, what happened to him was that they were he was blamed that he stole something like office property or something, and he took it on his ego and he really wanted to leave. And then he called me up. He's like, yo, what should I do? I was like, Richard, I can't help you. You're really calling me. Could you have called me a little sooner? And then I was like, what is it that you really want? It depends on you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? So what is it that you want? Do you want to stay with that office? Do you want to go on your ego trip? Do you want to ensure that you are, an ethical person and you never did this and stuff like that? Or do you really want to fight and just stick to the organization? Is it very important to you? So those are the things that happens. So you always need to define what is it that you want, why is it that you want, how much is it that you want. Now, moving from there to our next thing, which is emotional juice, as I was talking about emotional juice. So emotional juice, I call it emotional juice, but this is purpose. R stands for results, P stands for purpose in the RPM. So purpose should be very defined. If it's not big, why is it that you really want to do this? Well, I would want to reduce more weight and look more fit because I would want my people to get connected to me that ways. Does that make sense? So that is why the purpose is very important. It's very imperative. And if you do not have the emotional juice, you will not last, you will not follow through. Willpower is something that usually ends. It's like your phone's battery. You always need to plug a charger in it. The third thing, now help me understand when I talk about the massive action. Now, third thing is the M of the RPM, which is massive action plan. And the question should be, what should I do? What to do? And that's the third question. What should I do? Now, help me understand if you clearly know what you want, how much do you want, by when do you want. There could be a zillion ways of doing it, and some ways could be right, some ways could be wrong. You can't really define it that what is it that, which way is the right. But if you are committed, if you have enough emotional juice in you and you really know what you want, there's nothing that could stop you. Does that make sense? So let's look at the power of RPM. Can you read that for me? Focus is power. Focus on the results that most important of your job or life. Connect to your purpose, the fuel of human emotion. Create your map, your massive action plan for success. So now you all have a workbook on your workstations. What I would want you to do is write down some power words. So there are 5 keys to this program, this RPM methodology, which is language. Language plays a very vital role. So to give you an example, there was this guy who went on a safari with us, and then some other people had more money, like we were a bunch of friends. One guy had a lot of money, he made a shit tons of money, and he was a very influential person. We went in there and he was like, oh, I cannot do this, I really want the roof off. And then what he really did was he got the roof off, and then da 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 da, and yeah, and then focus, which we already discussed, purpose we already discussed, massive action plan we talked. Now chunking is a very important part. To give you an example, when I say chunking means, for example, if you have a to-do list and you have this and this and this and this and this and this and this on your to-do list, then you have this and this and this and this and this and this, then you have this. Now, this is your to-do list. But if I say that probably these things are related to your family life, this, and this is your business or your job. This and this and this and this and this and this and this is your love life or your relationships. Now, how many outcomes do you have? Just 3 from this thing. Now, probably, and I was doing this, and this. Now, I forgot to do this and this. And probably, I don't need these for me to be able to achieve what I want from my family. I can just do these things which were never there on the list. So that is the power of chunking. It helps you to understand what is it that you really want. Well, let's say, for example, if I want to, in case I had kids, then I would want to take my kids to school. I really want to ensure that, they feel loved, and then there's this birthday and stuff and that and that and that. So what happens is, I'll be able to nail this only when I do X, Y, and Z. So that's the power of chunking. So once you're chunking stuff, it's actually twofold. After chunking, what I would really want you guys to focus on is the wheel of life on the screen. So now, if you see that in the center of the circle, that's 0, and the moment you fill it, it becomes 10. So in your relationships, or let's say, if this is the circle of life, then I fill this and I'm 10 on this, I'm probably 7 on this, and then I'm 3 on this, and I'm 4 on this. Just like this. Now remember, we talked about what is the RPM. So what happens if the RPM is there? Then it pumps, it makes you move your car, go faster. But if this is how your wheel looks like, do you think even if you have the fastest car on planet Earth, you'll be able to drive it with that speed? You won't be able to. Right. Now, circling back again, when you're chunking stuff, there's language again plays a very vital role even in chunking. Though it's a sub part of the key to RPM. Now, on the screen, you have two things. Like there was this friend of mine, Anuj, who said, you know, whose categories for his life were business, family, and finance. These were the sectors that he really wanted to work on. And then I had the same. But look at the words, look at the difference. He said business, mine was world class business. His was family. I was like, outstanding family life. His was finance. I was like, absolute financial freedom. So now, since we learned about the RPM, let's do a quick exercise. If someone gave you a test and ask you what is the first question that you should ask? What are the results I'm after? Da 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 da. Now this is something that how we create the RPM blocks. Now look at the center. This is the result that I really want. What is the purpose of this guy? So he wants to reduce 30 pounds in next 90 days. And why is it that he wants to do it? Because he wants to have more energy, he wants to feel better, to turn heads like he used to do before with the chicks. So what would be his massive action plan? Start researching.